Hi, everyone. Attorney Rachel Kelley here with another Family Law Friday. This week, I'm answering the question of, can I take my kids out of the country on vacation? So I get this question in various forms all the time. And I think the reason why parents get confused about this is because most custody orders, in fact, all custody orders in the state of Michigan, are required to have language like the following, quote, pursuant to Michigan compiled laws 722.27a, subsection 10, neither parent may exercise parenting time in a country that is not a party to the Hague Convention on the civil aspects of international child abduction unless both parents provide the court with written consent. Now, okay. What does that mean? That's a lot of language, right? So let's break this down. First of all, do you know what the Hague is? I am not ashamed to admit that before I went to law school, I did not know what the Hague is. But fortunately, I went to MSU College of Law, which has a really strong international law presence. And in fact, my former roommate in law school did an internship at the Hague when we were in our second year. So that's when I learned what it is. So the Hague is a city in the Netherlands which hosts the United Nations International Court of Justice. And so there are several different kinds of Hague conventions. What that is it's a treaty that was developed by a group of different dignitaries and members of different nations for a specific purpose. So the Hague Convention on the civil aspects of international child abduction was specifically a treaty which allows for a speedy method for countries to work with each other to return children who have been abducted internationally by a parent from one country to another. Okay, so why is this language required to be in every custody order? Well, it's because that's what the law of the state of Michigan says, that language must be in every single order. And what that means is that if your children are subject to the jurisdiction of a Michigan court, you are not permitted to take your children to a country that has not signed on to the Hague Convention on International Child Abduction unless your ex and you put the agreement for you to travel with your children to that country in writing and submit it to the court. Okay, so I think the obvious next question is, what countries are included in the convention? So last I checked, there are 38 countries in the world that are not included in the convention. And if you are concerned about a place you want to go isn't included, I strongly recommend that you Google that list. Now, you can't take your kids, for example, to Cuba, Egypt, Japan, or Saudi Arabia unless the other parent has permitted you to do so with written consent in advance of the trip and you have submitted that consent to the court. Now, if you are considering some type of international trip, you absolutely need to consult that list before you buy your plane tickets to determine whether you're going to be required to talk about the trip with your ex before you go. Okay, so setting aside going to those 38 nations, what about if you want to take your children to Canada or to France? Can you take them? Well, they're both signatories to the Hague Convention, so the answer to that is yes, of course, unless you have specific language in your judgment of divorce or your custody order that says that you cannot take the children internationally for whatever reason without the other parent's agreement, then you are allowed to travel during your own parenting time. However, if you want to take your kids out of the United States, you are most likely going to need a passport. And if not a passport, you're going to need the enhanced ID that the state of Michigan offers. Now, in order to get a passport, if you share joint legal custody, you will be required to have your ex's signature for that passport application. So if you want to travel with your children and you're planning a vacation to a country that has signed on to the Hague Convention, then you need to decide or figure out whether you have to get a passport for your child. And if your child doesn't have one and your ex is not agreeing to sign off on one for you, then you are likely going to have to go to the court to get the court to order that you are permitted to apply for the passport for the children. Now, if your case is so highly contentious, if your co-parenting situation is so difficult that you and your ex can't agree to a passport so that you and your kids can have a vacation, then absolutely you will want to get in touch with an attorney. You will want to have a good attorney on your side for having a reasonable way to resolve those kinds of important disputes. As always, if you have questions about this video, or if you have any other matter that you are worrying about with your divorce or a disagreement with a custody dispute, give our office a call. We're here to help.